together, side by side, we will work to grow careers throughout South Dakota, making it clear that South Dakota is open for business. At the same time, once we fix the budget crisis we face, we will be in a position to invest in the future, in the children of South Dakota, in educators in South Dakota, and as I've said before, in creating those new careers throughout our state. I want to also tell you that one of the exciting things about this ticket is that Ben Arndt is a Republican. Now, in naming a Republican, South Dakota joins a list of other states who have done exactly that in establishing a bipartisan process for the governor and lieutenant governor. Montana, Brian Schweitzer, a Democrat who successfully won election and then was re-elected, chose a Republican as his running mate. In Kansas, Kathleen Sebelius, who was elected and re-elected as governor of Kansas and is now Secretary of HHS in Washington, D.C., chose a Republican as her running mate. The nominee for the Democratic Party in Utah this year, the mayor of Salt Lake City, has chosen a Republican as the running mate in that state. South Dakota now joins that list of states in saying essentially that partisan politics is less important than solving the problems that face the people of our state. That a bipartisan approach is one that is favored by the people of South Dakota, that is favored actually by a process that needs bipartisan support to actually make it work. And I'm very excited about Ben Arndt being the person along with me who can do exactly that. Having told you a little about him, I want to also end on a personal note. I have known Ben Arndt and his wife Sarah for quite a few years. In fact, Susie and I had the privilege of being present at their wedding 11 years ago, and I've had the chance to watch them mature and grow in their private lives and also as professionals. In fact, Sarah Graham Arndt babysat our kids when they were the size of Sarah's kids, Fletcher and Finley now. And so we go back a very long way in the lives of these two people. I just want all of you to know that in my opinion, I can't think of two people who will be better ambassadors to the rest of the country and the rest of the world in saying South Dakota is a great place to come to work, a great place to put down roots and start a career, and a great place to raise a family. Without further ado, I'd like you all to welcome my choice for Lieutenant Governor of South Dakota, my friend, Ben Arndt.
Well, I have some prepared remarks. First of all, I just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. It's a very exciting opportunity. I especially wanted to thank Senator Tim Johnson for coming and showing his support. It's very meaningful to both Scott and I. So it's definitely exciting to be here this morning. To be honest with you, it's a very humbling experience. I'm so honored that Scott asked me to serve as his Lieutenant Governor, and I'll tell you the same thing that I told him when he asked me. I will work as hard as I possibly can over the next 5 months to bring his message of fiscal discipline and smart investments in education and economic development to the people of South Dakota. When Scott asked me to serve on the ticket with him, I really felt a range of emotions: excitement, fear, and everything in between. I was honored that he thought enough of my skills to consider me, but I was also anxious. I'd often contemplated a commitment to public service at some point in my life, because I truly believe that the best business leaders need to also look outside to their community, their state, and their country to contribute their resources and their skills to make improvements. But I certainly didn't envision my first debut being in a statewide race. I asked Scott if he was sure I was the right person. I told him I was concerned about how people would react to my age, or the fact that I was born in Iowa, or that I have been a registered Republican, and I'm certainly not intimately familiar with partisan politics. Scott informed me that the thing that mattered most to him was finding someone with the right drive and complementary skill set to help fundamentally change state government. He told me he was also looking for someone who is organized, driven, and focused on helping South Dakota create new opportunities in education and economic development, two of the issues that I am most passionate about. I share Scott's philosophy that the best public policy decisions are made from the political center. And that is what's been missing from South Dakota state government much of the past 34 years. As a business person, I believe strongly in competition and in free markets. I believe that's what gives the best products for the best prices for consumers. If citizens would take a hard look at state government and the leadership in the executive branch today, they would see that we have not had a healthy, competitive two-party system. The results of one-party rule have been disastrous. State government is broken, and it is also broke. Political insiders and cronyism have created a murky and expensive system of no-bid contracts, wasteful spending, and lost opportunity. Next year's projections show we will spend $100 million more than what we take in revenue. While these numbers seem pretty clear to most of us, the current holder of the job I'm seeking doesn't see a problem. Lieutenant Governor Dugard doesn't consider our current budget situation a crisis, and he recently offered no comment when pressed on the issue by a reporter. As a business person, I know a company can't spend more than it takes in and expect to stay in business for very long. And that company certainly couldn't tolerate a leadership team that spent more than they took in for 7 of the 8 years. I also know that my family and all the families and people of South Dakota have no other choice but to live within their means. So to provide some personal background, as Scott had mentioned, I was born and raised just across the border in Iowa. I learned the timeless values of hard work and sacrifice. My father worked and still works today in agriculture, in fertilizer and chemical retailing. And my mom had her own business, and still does today, painting and wallpapering people's homes. They taught my sister and me the right way to do things, to be leaders, to always do our best. And they also taught us to be kind and to respect people from all walks of life. These values served me well as I worked my way through high school. I studied hard along the way, and I enjoyed all of the opportunities afforded to one in a small rural community deeply committed to the education of its children. I was fortunate to graduate from Yale University. I also received my MBA from the Kellogg School of Business at Northwestern. While school is great, there's no substitute for real-world experience, and I count myself extremely fortunate for having been selected to manage large brands and teams for a couple of the most admired companies in the country, Procter & Gamble and Microsoft. After I graduated college, and just before I entered the business world, my personal life got even better when I met Sarah Graham. Sarah is a third-generation South Dakotan, and her family has deep roots in our state. Her father, Mark, built a company called Bell Incorporated from virtually nothing. While Sarah and I enjoyed our time away as I helped build winning brands of Microsoft and Procter & Gamble, we both knew the Midwest was our home and the place where we wanted to raise our children. That's why it was an easy decision to return to South Dakota. For the past 5 years, I've had the pleasure of helping run and grow Bell Incorporated, and just a couple of months ago, I was named COO of the company. A huge part of Bell's success is the incredible value proposition doing business in South Dakota offers to companies like ours. Too often, our leaders try to market South Dakota as a low-cost state. I prefer the message that we are a high-value state. Our workforce is skilled and motivated, our input costs are very affordable, and our tax climate is extremely favorable. For those of you who don't know, Bell Incorporated is one of the 10 largest independently owned folding carton companies in the industry. We're the world's largest supplier of paperboard envelopes for overnight express envelopes, and we provide packaging to some of the world's largest food companies. Our competitive edge comes from our low-cost business model. We invest in the best technology, we maintain a lean, cost-focused organization, we engage in environmentally sustainable practices, and we grow prudently. Bell's success and the success of many other South Dakota companies are proof positive that we can compete on a national and world level. I am convinced that Scott Heideprim can create an even better business environment in South Dakota by getting our fiscal house back in order so we can make smart investments in the right kinds of programs.